first classes through our middle school. But you can start off and lead into that or whatever you want.
Sure thing. We'll start off easy. I'm gonna go with what's your name?
Jason Davis.
Jason Davis. All right. How long you lived here?
All my life.
Your whole life?
Yep.
All right.
Born in 76 and came home from the hospital to Annville. Oldest of 3 boys.
How old are you?
45. So, raised farm work, construction work. This area is all I've ever known. So,
what was it like when you were a kid? Was you growing up, family life?
had a good life, farm life. We raised tobacco, peppers, and different garden stuff to sell. Grew up making molasses. My grandpa ran sawmill, planer mill. Hard work, fun times. It's all we ever knew. My grandparents were older, so I missed out on some of the more productive years, but still learned a whole lot from their work ethic and stuff, even as older people.
I think your grandparents were a big influence on your life?
Both sides of my grandparents was, but my grandpa on my mother's side passed away when I was young, so I didn't get to know him as much, just through hearsay. But my dad's side was still really hard working there. Both grandma and grandpa. Funny stories, prankster. I got my sense of humor from my grandfather. He was well known for pranks. Grandma done upholstery work, and he was a woodworker. One of his pranks, he built a casket for a local person who had passed. She lined the casket, done the upholstery part of it, and he called the funeral home to come pick it up and then crawl down inside of it. He said if he'd realized how dangerous that was, he wouldn't have done it. He said that was really close to getting him killed. Just pranks like that continually. So I feel like that's where I got my sense of humor from him. Grandma was a lot more serious, very much based in religion. Got my love of church from her. And but she had her moments. She had to live with my grandpa for 50 plus years. So,
is he a hard man?
Not particularly, just work, and he wasn't very religious up until latter part of his life, and work was his religion. That was it. But in the latter years of his life, he become more so as he realized he was at the end of his life. But work was really, really important. You don't work, you don't eat. And that was pretty much true of both of them. My mom's mother was more playful, but she grew up a bootlegger's daughter, and very much hard life. And I think that made her be a lot more laid back and carefree, and not nearly as hard as maybe her parents or her dad was, maybe. But all of my grandparents were formative. My parents worked, so I spent a lot of time with them. But grew up with work being foremost. Tobacco work, we raised molasses, cane for molasses. Everything's just really, really hard work.
What was it like when you were a teenager and younger and stuff? What kind of trouble did you cause?
Now she is meddling. Now she is meddling. No incriminating evidence. I was a very good child. Never, for me personally, I never got into all the trouble that some of the kids, but really, as my age group, the most troublesome thing you dealt with out of my class, graduating class in school, was maybe some drag racing, sneaking some beers on the weekends, and the very worst was occasional smoking some pot.
How far did you make it in school?
Graduate and took some VOTEC training. I like 2 years of VOTEC. I worked till dark at construction stuff till 8, 9 o'clock. And they keep up with me that way. I've been known to disappear for several days at a time. Sometimes I go. I went off on a hunting trip, was gone. Somebody said, asked my wife, ain't you worried? And she said, he'll either find his way home or he won't, said he'll be. So, I was gone 3 days that time.
Do you have any siblings?
I have 2 younger brothers.
Where are they at now? What do they do?
My next below me, I'm the oldest of the 3. The next works as a truck driver and a local gun shop on his days off. The youngest works at the Bluegrass Army Depot in Richmond.
Interesting.
What about the one that's up here at the funeral home?
That's my boy.
Oh,
that ain't my brother. That's
your boy.
So you have children then?
Yeah, I've got 3 children. Son that works as a deputy coroner and as a funeral director. Daughter that's in nursing, and then one that's still in school.
Very nice. About this county getting voted into what you considered wet.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a little history about how that came to be, why it was considered wet but really wasn't?
Supposedly, the county was never really voted dry, but still came back up during the Bon Foley days of the sawmill in the Anvil area. I was told, now whether this be accurate or not, that it was never technically voted dry, although they did come up for vote now and it is back wet again, that during the days of that the local sawmillers, loggers, whatnot could go to a local bar and have a beer and stuff then, and that by all accounts never was really technically voted dry. Commerce in general dried up when the Bon Foley.
There used to be a liquor store up here where they built the courthouse.
Where Tom Coffey's store in Anvil, there was where the local, there across from Bon Foley, a lot of the old gentlemen, similar to now, after work would go, and that was where they'd look for work hands. They'd look for the local gossip. The local guys got together to swap lies, and they'd have a couple of beers. Even most of your not really drunks would still go have a couple of beers just socially to, like I said, look for help, look for work, look for whatever,
Gossip.
socialize and gossip.
All right. So, you've lived out here your whole life, correct?
Yeah.
You ever traveled anywhere, gone anywhere outside this area?
Yeah, traveled with work and construction work a lot. Vacationed in the South a lot. Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia.
Where do you think your favorite place you've ever gone to has been?
Naples, Florida, with a close second being Destin, Florida. Naples is where my wife's family is located, so we've seen, while in Naples, we visited the Everglades, and I really like the Everglades, but that's part of my Naples trip usually is in the Everglades. We've done a lot of hiking and fishing and stuff in the Everglades, so that's a really neat place. Mm-hmm. If it's not trying to bite you and kill you.
Would you ever consider moving from this area, or do you think that you want to stay here?
I don't never say never, but it would take a major not likely.
That seems to be one of the major things that I've encountered so far is everyone that's from these parts, they're like, I don't want to move. This is my home. This is my heart. I love that.
We've had
here.
we've had a lot of people in the past 2 years due to economic, social, a lot of immigrants from other states. So far, been pleasantly surprised that most of them are adapting fairly well to our way of living, not trying to change us to their way. I'm pretty fond of the way we've got it around here. I really don't want to sacrifice that at the expense of allowing people to come here. I hope they adapt to us. I don't want to. I'd really like to not have anybody find out. I guess it's selfish to want to keep it to ourselves, but I'd be, as long as it doesn't affect our way of life. I think as a rule they'll find that most everybody is fairly civil as long as you treat them civilly. They will in turn treat them poorly, and you may find that they're not nearly as sweet as you mentioned a while ago. They're fairly long suffering, but at the same time, don't cross them.
Oh yeah. So what's something that you would want to, I guess, then share with people that come through this area? What's something that you hope that they take away if they were to even just visit for a moment or stay some time?
Get off the beaten path. A lot of our local scenic Flat Lick Falls, S Tree Tower, Turkey Foot. Don't take it at just what you see in the 421 Highway 30 corridor coming in and out. There's a lot more to be seen. A lot of wildlife, a lot of just really wild, primitive places. Worth your time it takes to hike in, hike out, and see. And I think that's our only resource we have left is the beauty of this around here. So I'd ask them to look off the beaten path a little bit.
That's very nice. What would your hopes be for the future of this area?
As people immigrate in, I hope we don't lose our ruralness. I hope it stays. I don't want us to become overran with until we become the suburbs of some of our local Berea or London, or that we're considered. I don't mind the people coming in, and I've enjoyed meeting, but I don't want to become the suburbs of any of our local, what we consider, the cities around. I would hope that our kids get to grow up with the same experiences that we did, and that we don't lose that due to development. Regardless of the economic shortcomings we may have, there's something to be said for the farm life, the rural life.
Awesome.
So that got you what you...
I was going to say, any last messages you want to give?
Nope.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
His stage name is Clem the Little Hopper. Seriously, that's...
You, it's your turn now.
Yeah, it's all right.
Santa
Come on here.
Claus.